Lizzo has always been known as a force of positivity. She is loud, proud, unapologetic, and for years she was celebrated for bringing self-love and body positivity into mainstream music. But in 2023, her world shifted dramatically. A series of lawsuits, shocking accusations, and media headlines painted a very different picture of the star many thought they knew. Now, in 2025, Lizzo is stepping back into the spotlight with new music. The question is, can she really stage a comeback? And what is the truth behind the scandals that nearly ended her career? This is Lizzo's comeback lawsuits, scandal, and the truth behind her new music. When Lizzo broke into mainstream fame, she was the embodiment of confidence. She filled arenas, dominated award shows, and inspired millions with her bold message. Her music was not only catchy, it was an anthem for people who wanted to feel seen, valued, and strong. Lizzo positioned herself as more than an artist. She was a symbol. That is why the allegations against her in 2023 shocked so many fans. They did not fit the image of the woman who had always been celebrated for kindness and empowerment. The lawsuits claimed workplace harassment, hostile environments, and even allegations of body shaming. For a woman who had built her brand on body positivity, that last accusation was especially devastating. Several of her former dancers alleged that Lizzo created an uncomfortable work environment, with pressure that went far beyond what they believed was reasonable for a professional setting. They said they were mistreated, disrespected, and forced into situations that felt degrading. Lizzo denied these claims, calling them false and hurtful. She said the accusations were coming from people who misunderstood her or wanted to tear her down. She expressed heartbreak at the idea that her name, once synonymous with empowerment, was suddenly tied to words like harassment and abuse. Still, the damage was done. Media headlines spread like wildfire. Fans were divided. Some defended her, others turned away. The scandal hit at the peak of her career momentum. Lizzo had been enjoying a successful tour, television appearances, and brand endorsements. Suddenly, everything was at risk. Brands hesitated to associate with her. Interviews were canceled, and her public image took a massive hit. For an artist who thrived on connecting with her fans, this was not just a career problem, it was personal. She had spent years telling people they mattered. Now she had to prove that she still lived by that same message. Instead of rushing to release music or defend herself in constant interviews, Lizzo made a surprising move. She stepped back. She reduced her presence online, performed less frequently, and allowed the legal process to unfold. For months, it seemed like she had disappeared from the public conversation. In today's world, where celebrities fight their battles loudly, her quietness was unusual. Many wondered if she had given up, but behind the scenes, Lizzo was not silent. She was regrouping. Friends close to her described her as shaken but determined. She began focusing on therapy, songwriting, and private conversations with the people she trusted. She reflected on what had happened, what had been said, and what her future would look like if she chose to come back. By late 2024, whispers started circulating that Lizzo was in the studio again. That is where she always felt most powerful. For Lizzo, music was not just performance, it was therapy. If she had a message to share, it would be in her lyrics, in the sound of her voice, in the beats that reminded people of who she was. Her new music is not just another collection of party anthems. It is deeply personal. Sources close to her project say her songs now reflect the pain, betrayal, and resilience she has felt since the lawsuits. Instead of hiding from the scandal, Lizzo has decided to use it as fuel. She wants to speak openly about what it feels like to be accused, to be doubted, and to be forced to rebuild yourself when the world has already decided who you are. And here is where it gets interesting. Public scandals can destroy a celebrity, but they can also humanize them. Fans often want to see their idols as perfect, but perfection is not relatable. Flaws, mistakes, and struggles, however, are. Lizzo is now walking that line. Her comeback will not only depend on whether her new music is good, but also on whether people believe her truth. Let me ask you this. Imagine you are a star whose entire identity is built on positivity. Then the world suddenly calls you a hypocrite. Do you try to ignore it, pretend nothing happened, or do you face it head on in your art? Because that is the choice Lizzo has made. She has chosen to face it through her songs. The public fallout has already shifted. At first, Lizzo was the target of constant criticism online. Hashtags trended against her. Memes circulated mocking her image. But as months went by, attention moved on to other scandals, other headlines. That is the nature of the internet. Now, with the lawsuits still unresolved in some aspects but no longer dominating the news cycle, Lizzo has space to reintroduce herself. She has also leaned into her core fan base, the people who never stopped supporting her. These are the fans who see Lizzo as more than the headlines. They see her as a voice that helped them through hard times. By reconnecting with them, she is building a foundation for her comeback that is loyal and deeply personal. Her concerts in 2025 reflect this shift. They are less about spectacle and more about connection. Fans describe them as emotional, almost cathartic, with Lizzo addressing the audience directly, talking about what she has gone through, and thanking them for staying by her side. It is not just about performance anymore. It is about survival, honesty, and rebirth. Critics are paying attention. Some believe her career will never fully recover, that the accusations left too deep a scar. Others argue that this is exactly the kind of story fans love, the fall from grace, followed by a comeback. Redemption arcs have always fascinated the public. If Lizzo can make hers authentic, she may win back more than she lost. What makes Lizzo's comeback unique is how much it reflects the era we live in. We demand accountability from celebrities, but we also crave their redemption. We want them to fall, but we also want them to rise again, because their rise inspires us to believe we can do the same. Lizzo is betting on that. She is betting that her story of resilience will resonate, even with those who doubted her. Her new music, from early descriptions, is raw and emotional. It deals with betrayal, resilience, and the duality of fame. On one hand, fame can elevate you. On the other, it can expose you to the harshest forms of criticism. Lizzo's lyrics reportedly lean into the idea of surviving the storm, finding strength in vulnerability, and reminding herself why she began making music in the first place. For an artist, truth is always filtered through sound. Lizzo is not expected to release long legal explanations or detailed interviews about every lawsuit. Instead, she will do what she has always done, tell her side of the story through music. Whether the audience believes it will determine if her comeback becomes a cultural moment or fades into the background. The larger question is what this means for celebrity culture. Lizzo's scandal exposed how quickly public opinion can shift and how fragile a carefully built brand can be. But it also shows that resilience is possible. If she succeeds, it will remind us that scandals do not always end careers, they reshape them. In conclusion, Lizzo's comeback is not just about music. It is about identity, truth, and survival. She went from being the face of positivity to being accused of the very thing she stood against. Now she is trying to reclaim her narrative, not by ignoring the past, but by turning it into art. The lawsuits and scandals may have scarred her, but they have also given her new depth. So when you hear Lizzo's new music, remember, it is not just another track. It is a testimony. It is a statement that she is still here, still creating, and still fighting for her place in music. Whether the world forgives her or not, Lizzo's comeback proves one thing: you cannot silence an artist who has something left to say. This is Fame Daily, and you have been watching Lizzo's comeback, lawsuits, scandal, and the truth behind her new music.